Town of Bluffton Affordable Housing Committee meeting is Thursday, May the 2nd, 2024, and meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please.
All right. Town Councilman Chairman Fred Hamilton. Grace Staples.
Present.
Doug McGill.
Meg James, Denolis Polite, and Gwen Chambers.
Present.
She's here.
We have Meg James in for the record at 10:03.
Good morning.
Morning.
We have a quorum, so we can vote.
Ready?
Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposers, ayes have it. Adoption of the minutes from April 11th. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second was made. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes unanimous. Ayes have it. Old business, new business, Victoria.
All right, good morning and welcome to May. So for our memo and our budget update,
Not much change, but I am going to read just for the record. The budget for fiscal year 2024 neighborhood assistance budget was adopted at $290,000. As of February 14th, the updated budget is $304,000. To date, 17 homes have been serviced for home repairs such as roofing and interior repairs totaling $259,402. 23 homes have been serviced for septic pump outs totaling $8,357, and 2 homes for tree services totaling $6,180. As of April 25th, 2024, 42 homes have been serviced in the Neighborhood Assistance Program. Collectively, the program has a current balance of $15,661. And I do want to update, we have not done any home repairs and we have not done any current tree services. So the only line item that is moving is our septic pump outs, because since our last meeting, we did 2. So just to give that update on that. And then here's our Excel sheet that I provide for you guys. So again, no major changes, just the septic pump out. And as you can see right now, for septic pump out, we are holding $243. As you already know, each septic pump out cost us $400. So if we do have any more, we will pull from within, because collectively we are still holding a little over $15,000. So we won't have any, we don't have to pull or go red for the remainder of the year. A little over 2 months now. We're almost at our new spot. So any questions there?
And you're still holding people over for the next?
Yes, of course, yes. I think I was in and out of the office yesterday. On Tuesday, I gave out about 3 applications. So yes, we, one of my employee members in the office said, "You're already out of money for July, and July hadn't even started yet." So yes, we are there. Good news, we did get approved for the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust Fund repair grant. We don't know how much we were approved for, but there is an interview lined up for our town manager to speak to that committee, to kind of tell them about our program so we can get those funds. Again, we don't know what we're earmarked for, but we are in the running to receive some funds. So that's a plus. And we are working on some other things on the back end. Charlotte and I are working on some other things on the back end to put some more funds in our budget for July. So we're just, looking at some different grants that's out there for us and see how many we can apply for as the Neighborhood Assistance Program. So we are working there. We did our 3rd smoke alarms yesterday. We put up 24. We visited about 5 homes. It was a couple that we had to backtrack to, but we did do 24 smoke alarms all together yesterday. So that was amazing. It's always a big thing. Like I said last month, anyone needs it, just let me know, have them call me, and we can go out as long as it's in our Bluffton service area. So that's been a good program that we teamed up with the fire department. So kudos to the fire department for reaching out to us to get that done. And I think that's all the announcements that I have.
One sort of a tangent question. Is USCB, that area out there, University Park, is that part of Bluffton? Okay.
I believe, I wanna say
It
it's
says
Beaufort
It
County.
says Bluffton.
Part of it is Beaufort County, part of it is Jasper County. It depends on what side of the road you're on.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, but that's not part of our servicing area.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No. Nope, nope. Any other questions?
Yes, first question is for Kevin. Kevin, I know I caught you off guard last month, but I wanted you to look into, incentivizing private properties owners when they want to do affordable housing. What are the steps for us to change is that program that would give, them more, I guess, reason to say this is something we would consider? Where do we go, where's our next steps?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So probably the next step would be you collectively as the Affordable Housing Committee would, I'm going to say write, as in staff would write this, but you would request town council to look into additional incentive options beyond what we currently have in our, either in the Unified Development Ordinance or through our Economic Development Incentive Package that has most recently been adopted. What that would do is it then, by you tell town council tells the town manager, and the town manager then tells us to look into alternative options. So if that is something that the group would like, what we can do is, and I can kind of just make this statement right now, and you are agreeing to that, and then what I'll do is kind of write a memo to the town manager, who then takes it to town council, and then kind of it goes up and back down. So just so that way we have the directive from town council to move forward with something before we just start working on it.
Before I make that a request for the committee, would you please, if you can, tell them what we offer now so they can understand why this might be something to look into?
Yes, I'll make sure to include that in the memo, so that way it is understood what's out there now.
And from my experience, a private developer or a private landowner, the only real incentive that we offer right now is we can double the density if they make it completely affordable. And let's use a small number. Let's say it's 1 acre. In some places like Buck Island, Simmonsville, Guthrie Road, it's 4 dwelling per acre. So it's a tier program. If, let's just say they only want to do 50%, then they can only get, that 4 per acre would be then, instead of 8 for 4, it would be 4. They can only get 2 additional. So what that means for us, we offer density, and we offer some fee in lieu of, right?
Yes, sir.
In today's market in Bluffton, that's very challenging for someone to say it's worth it for me to build affordable housing. Can you add anything to that?
You're 100% correct. Also, you know, the incentive program that we have in the Unified Development Ordinance was created in 2015. Obviously, a lot has changed since then. So yes, I think that would be beneficial to look at it again. Also with that, probably one of the recommendations that we'll have is that as this moves forward, we will then have a workshop with town council. We can invite Affordable Housing Committee. We can reach out to a couple of private developers to get some insight from them as well as we're moving forward with this.
Any questions?
So it's more of just like a directive, you know, a directive to us, and then we'll work on that.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Now, next question is Victoria. We talked last month also about garbage bins.
Yes, so I have, well, actually, they reached out to me, Capital Service, CSW, Capital Service Waste, and I believe we're gonna tag team with them because they do not have, environmental fees, they do not have fuel fees, they don't have all those extra fees that the other agencies have. So Capital Service Waste is going to be who we roll with in July. Yeah, they actually wrote to me last week, so we are gonna partner with them. Yep. Good morning. For the record, we have Ms. Denolis Polite at 10:13. Welcome. And if you guys don't have anything else from me, I am going to pass it over to our presenter for today, Mr. Alan Wolf. I didn't see a title, director? Okay, all right. Chairman of the Board for Coastal Community Development Corporation. So if you guys have questions for him, I know we asked about him last week, not last week, but last month. So let's listen to this and see what we can do.
Thank you. Chairman Hamilton, thanks for having me up here.
Sir, thanks for being here.
Would like to state for the record that you were the first person to hear this crazy pitch 1.5 years ago in October of 2022, along with Dan Wood and David Ames, and we're 1.5 years down the road, so we're happy to report on the progress. So thanks for helping us get the train on the tracks, as we said that day.
Okay.
I will breeze along. Please interrupt at any point with questions, because I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Let you stroll down?
Yeah, I'll just scroll like this. So essentially, the Coastal Community Development Corporation, our impact and what we're trying to do is preserve affordable workforce housing throughout the Lowcountry, and that includes Beaufort and Jasper County as our primary regions that we want to serve. And our hope to do this would be in the mission statement through preservation, that's buying existing units that are already for sale when they come up in the market. Secondly, redeveloping existing property, and then lastly, developing new property to meet the demand of the working families and residents of our communities. Why we are doing it. We believe some of the work that Councilman Hamilton and I were involved with pre-COVID really led us on the path of understanding this is a quality of life issue. It's a quality of life issue because lack of affordable housing leads to poor quality of services, reduced availability in services, and high cost of services, all of which negatively impact the quality of life of our residents. So that's exactly why we're doing it. We want to help solve that for the long run. The Beaufort County Housing Needs Assessment, if you've not taken the time to page through it, right at the top there for the town of Bluffton, were the projections over a 5 and 10 year period of rental units that would need to be introduced to meet the demands of the assessment. So you can see that was 1,174 new units would need to be created for the town of Bluffton by the year 2027. So we are now, 7 years through that 10-year study? And I'm not sure exactly the progress, but I doubt we've come up with 1,100 new units. And much like we realized on Hilton Head, the short-term rental market has actually sucked more inventory out. So we feel like every time you all create a new affordable unit in perpetuity, if we lose more than that out of the bottom of the bucket to the VRBO and the Airbnb market, we've only gotten a bigger problem to solve. So this was a striking number, and ultimately we feel like development alone probably can't solve that. What's the demand for 1,100 new units in the town of Bluffton? It's probably very, very limited. So we think buying existing homes when they come up for sale and then locking them up for the long term is a sound piece of the strategy to solve the problem. So how we are doing it. We have gotten our nonprofit IRS status approved as of last May, so 1 year ago. And our mission is to serve area median incomes between 50% and 120%. So that's where we have to operate between. We are placing deed restrictions on the properties that we purchase for a 99-year commitment, which would tie them to those associated area median incomes. We have an application process, which makes sure that we have workers who have access to the housing first. And that's been blessed through the Fair Housing Standards. We used Pasadena, California, which had a similar approach, and we were able to kind of start from their model as we built those preferences. And essentially, a worker who works in Bluffton would be the highest priority if a unit that we own is in Bluffton. And to the extent that no workers in Bluffton have applied, then it would go to the next closest in proximity. And the idea there is that we make sure we don't have somebody from New York who's working remote for a company in New York be able to get one of these units, because they have to work for a local business here in Bluffton or in the region that the unit is located. To the extent that there's no applicants that are workers that are in the region here, then yeah, we'd go to the open market and we'd run into whoever it could be, whether they're retiree, young, in between, anywhere. But that's how we enact the preferences. And of course, we don't allow any short-term rentals. We want to help fight against that. Sir.
Can I stop you right there,
Yeah, of course.
Alan? I question that, I guess that option that if no one applied, then it goes kind of like to the open market. But we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't think we had we had people that.
Agreed.
So putting that clause in there kind of, scare the program as far as why are we really doing it?
I should clarify, it does not go to market rents. They still are fixed at the.
Not market rent, I mean,
At
open market.
limited AMI, yeah, but to the extent that it ends up going to a non-worker, is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, understood. I'll walk you through the preferences here in a minute with a
Okay.
little more detail. I would agree, if we don't have enough demand to fill the units that we're buying, I'd be shocked. So the fact that it would get to that, would be surprising. It's part of our outreach mission is to engage local employers, to engage organizations like your own, to make sure we start filling the pipeline as we get more units online. So the cost curve bending strategies that we've employed, there is a property tax abatement opportunity in the state of South Carolina. If you own 4 units, they have to be at a prescribed level of AMI. You can have 1 unit up to 50%. You can have 2 units up to 80% of AMI and 1 unit up to 120%. So if you have 4 units that hit those prescriptions, you can then apply for a property tax abatement in the state of South Carolina. Any units that we own that are not within those ranges would not qualify for the property tax abatement. The second part, which we've been mildly successful so far, is to seek altruistic investment. And basically, we've gone out to Long Cove community on Hilton Head was the first one. Colleton River will be the next one, where we come to high net worth individuals that live behind the gates and we say, would you all provide debt at a 3% unsecured promissory note return to our organization as an alternative to going out to the high cost bank financing? And by doing that, along with collecting donations, we can greatly bend the cost curve. Because, right now, we're looking at rates of 7.5% to 8% if we go to a bank. So to get a 3% loan is a huge cost curve bender in terms of savings. We have also extended that same model to foundations, like the Community Foundation of the Low Country, to be able to say, hey, why don't you consider moving part of your investment portfolio into a promissory note to the CCDC and allow us to expand our reach. Again, these are unsecured, so there's no guarantee to any of these folks that they're getting a return, and they're taking that risk along on their own. But it's worked out. We raised $1.1 million in Long Cove, which was a great start, and we're going to seek to do a similar thing to do work out here in unincorporated and Bluffton when we get to Colleton River. The other areas, of course, we're searching for grants and donations when and if they are available. Our program manager, Carletha Frazier, is applying for those currently. And then at the local, state, and federal level, we've engaged the South Carolina Housing Department. We, of course, met with Director Hutto and introduced him to this. Senator Davis has been a big proponent of helping us push this at the state level. We want to make ourselves accessible to the funds that are at the state SC Housing, and we're committed to, working through any available opportunities at the state level. And then, of course, we're a nonprofit, so there's no developer fee that we have to return. There's no, profit motive, and that's how we can deliver cheaper rents to the market. As we buy a unit, currently our approach has been to look for 40 to 50% of the down payment price. Let's say it's a $300,000 unit, that we'd find $150,000 through the debt instruments that I had mentioned, 3% annual return, or grants and donations. Of course, a grant donation helps a ton in delivering a lower rent to the market. And then we'd go out to the bank and finance the other 50 to 60%. So Coastal States Bank is the first bank that has signed up to offer a fixed mortgage at a conservative rate. It's still at the 7.25% rates, higher than we want. So we're seeking more bank partners, and we're happy to leverage more donations if we can get them, but that's essentially how we've gone about buying the first 7 units that we have. The property ownership of these units that we purchase is by the Coastal Community Development Corporation. We do prioritize sale to existing renters. So we have an audit out to our 7 renters that we have in our current units, and 4 of them are interested in buying homes that they live in. So to the extent that we can convert them into a home ownership position, that's fantastic. It also returns the capital that we have to work with to go buy another unit and then preserve it. The key is, of course, we're putting a deed restriction on in the meantime. So if that person ends up buying that, then it's gonna be restricted to that AMI level for 99 years. And they, of course, know that going in, but we're not trying to create affordable inventory, only to watch it disappear. And that's what happened in Aspen, if you're not aware. 1980s, they put a 25-year deed restriction in place. 2006 came along, it disappeared, and it went back to full market. They lost the inventory. So while we want to prioritize home ownership and the equity in that, we also want to make sure that we don't undo our success at the same time. I will mention just quickly the qualifications. One person in the household must work full-time for a local business. That's what I was referring to earlier, in the applicant stack. And 75% of the household's income must be earned from a local business. Now, we didn't come up with this ourselves, right? We went to Jackson, Wyoming, and realized that they had come up with a great definition for a local business to ensure that they didn't have people working, again, remote for a company in New York City and living in the beautiful town of Bluffton. And we also will not allow an applicant to own residential real estate within 50 miles of the unit, because we don't want them to go, hey, I can pay a cheaper rent at a unit that CCDC owns and then rent out my place. That's, this is not meant to be an investment strategy. On the rental preferences, you can see the first one is the main one, and that's that any person who is going to be or has been displaced is the top priority. So to the extent that we have an open unit and someone says, hey, I got an eviction notice and I'm out in 30 days, or I have just been displaced, they're immediately to the top of the priority list. The second one would be, hey, if we go up to Colleton River and we say that we can raise $1 million, their community would have a preference for their workers. If they help us buy 12 units, 6 of those units could go as a preference to Colleton River employees, and then the other 6 serve the wider community. And that's a way to help engage that altruistic capital that we see in communities across the Lowcountry. And you can see our wash down of preferences. The third priority is given to eligible households that reside and work at a local business. So again, in the Bluffton example, a unit that we have that's available, if someone already lives in Bluffton and they work in Bluffton, they're the highest priority. The idea is we want them to be able to stay where they work and the community they work in. That's the priority there. And then the next one would be that they simply work at a business in Bluffton. And then we wash down to a little greater region if there's nobody applying in those examples. If you're not aware, the AMIs were just released from 2023. They went back down in Beaufort County from $111,000 for a family of 4 last year to $106,000. And I will highlight where that's at right here with my cursor. You can see that 100% of area median income for a family of 4 is $106,400 now. And the way that that affects our rent structures is, that we cannot charge more than 30% of income can be paid towards rents. So what we've done is we've calculated that in that example, a family of 4 at 100% area median income could afford a rent of $2,660 in a 2-bedroom unit. But then we back out their utility costs and you come down to this $2,448, so that would be the max. And then using the same example at 50%, the max rent that a family of 4 or a household of 4 could pay would be $1,179. So you can see the spectrum that we're trying to serve is, in the family of 4 example, $1,179 up to $2,980 at the high end. So that's the band that we're trying to solve this for. And if you go up to a household of 1, say you have a studio unit, the same math would be you could have a unit that could be $799 up to $2,100 at the high end. I think the going rate that I've seen on 170 now for one of those little apartments is $2,100. They just went up. So you can see that they're at the highest level, and of course we want to solve it across a wider spectrum. One thing I will mention is, let's say this household of 2 example, $106,000. That's not to say that we're serving a wage earner that makes $106,000. We're saying a household that makes $106,000. So that could include 2 wage earners, both earning $53,000. They'd be at the top end of the spectrum for a household too. So that is household income. If you've got a roommate, that counts as household income. It's not married, family, nothing. It's any incomes into the household add up as you work into those numbers. So it may sound like a lot of money, $106,000, but when you look at the fact that it could be multiple incomes, it's not so crazy sounding. So just a quick update on what we've accomplished since we got our nonprofit status last year. The Community Foundation of Lowcountry awarded us matching grant of $100,000, as we raised $125,000 in private donations last year to just get our operating administrative funds in place for the first 2 years, so we're about a year into that. We have purchased 7 units on Hilton Head Island. We have navigated with the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust through Beaufort County Council, getting a $600,000 grant awarded that will be administered by the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust so that we can work on purchasing units within unincorporated Beaufort County. The caveat there is that $600,000 will represent no more than 20% of the down purchase price, so we still have to go raise the other 80% through our funds, through finance and donations. And then we've also gotten a similar commitment from the town of Hilton Head, who's providing out of their ATAX budget a $600,000 grant, and that would be the same thing for units just on Hilton Head. So we've had some success at the municipal level. You know, when I started putting these numbers together and shared them with Councilman Hamilton a year and a half ago, it was pretty apparent right away. Our units that we are targeting to purchase are $200,000 to $400,000, and there wasn't a single one for sale in Bluffton, in the town of Bluffton. So it's a challenge here in Bluffton, and we'll talk about some other opportunities we have that might be a great fit for you all. But, you know, we're going to continue to work throughout the Low Country to find these units and then lock them up and preserve them for the long run. We welcomed Carletha Frazier about 6 months ago as our program manager. She has real estate experience as well as management experience. So we're self-managing 4 of the 7 units thanks to her expertise. The first 3 we outsourced to a local management company on Hilton Head. And we want to keep that balance. As many as she can self-manage, it helps us save on the rents. But at the same time, we have the opportunity to outsource that to a third party. There's a look at one of the marsh sites we bought. You know, it's pretty simple. A unit goes up for sale like this on the MLS. If we can fit it in our metrics and we have the capital available, then we put an offer in. We don't want to bid up prices. We want people who want to buy in their communities, of course, to have the first priority. We do not bid up any prices on the 7 units we bought. You know, that would be not the best solution. So we think we stand as a very valid consideration for partnership from local organizations and municipalities because we provide an immediate preservation opportunity. We don't take 18 to 24 months to get shovels in the ground and get permitted. If there's a unit for sale, we can purchase, we can get to moving right away. We think the strategy of buying existing homes that have already made an impact on the infrastructure in the town of Bluffton across the Low Country supports growth management concerns that our region has. Of course, the covenants of 99 years are strong. We want to continue to prioritize home ownership, and we think it's really a community solution in that. We've gotten great resident support. We got a $500,000 donation from a woman on Hilton Head Island about a month and a half ago. And she spent her time working with Habitat over the years, and she saw just what a big need this is. So, you know, we've got resident support there as well as our altruistic investment. We have businesses making grants, the community foundation, and of course having the town of Bluffton support would be a nice thing to add to the mix. Councilman Hamilton, I would love to hit a couple opportunities, but maybe we answer any questions first.
I think opportunity is better.
Okay, great. Certainly, you mentioned something before. How do you incentivize property owners to add these sorts of units to the house? Well, that is somewhat of an infill development opportunity. We met with Hardyville just the other day as an opportunity there, right? To the extent that you have an acre, 2 acres, we're looking at solutions where we can bring a product to market, whether it be a modular product, which I think the town of Bluffton has had some experience with, or a stick-built project, where if we can get a ground lease in place, we can come and bring the funds to build the unit and then manage the rental of the unit. Obviously, it wouldn't be a resale opportunity because it would be on somebody's land, but we think that infill opportunity is a huge opportunity, whether it's in the town of Bluffton, Hilton Head, or anywhere throughout the Low Country. Second thing I'll mention is the opportunity to catch before a property, an apartment complex, as an example, flips in the market. And I'm going to use the Enclave, which is on Bluffton Parkway, as an example. We lost our server at Frankie Bones in Bluffton. She was paying $1,800 a month, and then when it flipped to a new owner, which was a real estate investment trust, her rent went to $2,200, and she moved back to Indiana. So we're short a worker because nobody can handle a $400 rent increase on their 2-bedroom unit. Had we been able to position ourselves as an organization, as a credit-worthy organization, boy, would we love to have been the ones to be able to buy that before a real estate investment trust out of, you know, a city far away did so. And that's another way to preserve the rents for our residents. So if you all ever come across those opportunities, be it a townhouse, a multi-unit, you know, please consider letting us know. Banks love to be involved in those because they're very bankable and secure. So we're not afraid to go ask for the money if y'all find those opportunities. The ATAX bill that Senator Davis led, State S-284 last year, which allows ATAX funds to be used up to 15% of your ATAX funds towards workforce housing. We'd love to be a candidate if you all decide that you're going to use those funds for workforce housing endeavors. And then land leases, if the town of Bluffton is looking for a development partner, we're preparing ourselves to be an applicant. So if you are planning on doing land leases and putting out RFPs, we have builders that are in line that are certified to put up modular homes in 6 months. We feel like they're very well built and we can get them done fast, and they're very cost effective. So we're happy to do that. And I think I will hand it over to you, Chairman Hamilton, for any questions or comments.
Alan, that's a very intriguing and inspiring presentation. And
Thank you.
since a year and a half ago, it has really blossomed into something that I can appreciate. When I first sat down with you, you were focusing on Hilton Head. And now you're reaching out to the Jasper and Beaufort counties. That's an improvement for me.
Absolutely.
Any questions from the board? Committees? I'm sorry.
How many units do you have here? Like, do y'all have anything here?
Just 7 units on Hilton Head right now.
Just 7 units on Hilton Head?
One bedroom and 6 2-bedrooms. And that was mainly just because that's where the fundraising had started, that we started there. And because, again, there was nothing affordable in the town of Bluffton, but we've got our eye on a lot of units out here in unincorporated Beaufort County, you know, throughout the corridor around Bluffton that fit our price, our price.
So you do have some things y'all are looking at in Bluffton
Yes, we do.
right now?
Well, again, within town of Bluffton limits,
Unincorporated?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
100%. In fact, the grant that we have received through Beaufort County Council has to be spent in unincorporated. So it will not be used on Hilton Head Island or in the town of Beaufort. It'll be actually in the unincorporated area. So we've got a list of 36 properties that we're looking at currently. We're trying to revise it down to 12 because that $600,000 grant is essentially enough to help us get 12 more units by us coming up with the other 80%. So we're going through that process as we speak.
What's the time, what do you think the time frame would be, and how would people get that information? Because 12 units will go fast.
Yeah, in many cases, they're already occupied. So to the extent, you know, of the 7 units we bought, only 1 was unoccupied to begin with. We think that's not the worst thing if we can preserve somebody's, you know, housing situation. Certainly, we're not looking to displace anybody, but you're right. It may go very fast. We expect to have them all closed by October, by the end of October, and that would start in July to buy those 12 units in the unincorporated area here.
July 2025?
Of this year.
Oh, yeah, 24. Okay. I thought you was in October and then July. Okay. And the other one is, can you kind of just explain to me a bit about if somebody had land, what you all would do with the leasing portion of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. The example that we're working through right now is we have a modular home developer that's got a beautiful Savannah River style house from a company in Greenville that's making these things. You know, they work 24 hours a day up there in a sealed environment. And we can get these delivered in August this year. And we can have them up and open by September, October. So the rates on those, let's say it's $300,000 to build this 2 or 3 bedroom house in this example. So we're looking for people on Hilton Head and Bluffton that are interested in doing a land lease. Maybe they've got an acre of undeveloped land that could support 4 units, as you mentioned before. And then we'd come along and say, great, we've got the funding to bring those 4 units, $1.2 million through our funds, and we'll provide a land lease. The examples that I've been given so far are $1,500 a month, that sort of thing is like a land lease number. And as long as we can deliver that land lease, as well as the rent to afford to pay off that $300,000 home on that unit, then we've got a partnership where we could have a 25-year land lease in place and we manage the rental side of it. And that person gets a check for the land lease.
Forgive me if I don't understand parts of it. What happens after 25 years?
Well, we would like a 25-year extension right up front.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's
And
the main
then,
thing.
I know, but what happens if something like that is not afforded to somebody?
Sure. I would think that the landlord has preference, but I don't know if that automatically defaults to their property since it's on their property. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd be happy
I'm just
to look at that.
asking.
I think that's what you were asking,
I
right?
think so.
Yeah, understood. The covenant restriction would still be 99 years, so I suppose the land lease should probably run in unison with that
But that's just something that you have to, if you have land, or just to understand that, what happens in those, situations, with people who have land.
It's probably gonna be a case by case, basis, yeah, because let's just say if it's government owned land, then it might be easier to negotiate, but if it's private owned land, I don't know if I would give up 99 years.
Yeah, there'd be some options there.
Well, you know, I'm a Realtor and I have someone who has been talking to me about leasing her land for 99 years, just, you know, so that the family has it in perpetuity. But someone else has offered her $1 million for the land. And of course, you know, being the Realtor, I'm like, I think we need to take $1 million, but.
You do 6% on that rate.
But that's not her desire. But I'm just wondering, is that beneficial to the landowner? How does that, you know, because that seems to me that would be a tough sell.
That 99-year scenario?
Well, not just any land lease sale, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
That you're gonna build a house on because,
It's essentially, it's being a developer. All of a sudden, they're gonna find themselves as a developer, but not having to, it's almost a joint venture, where they're bringing the equity in the land, and the developer is taking the risk on the vertical construction, as well as taking the risk on leasing it, because the developer has to provide a rent check every month, regardless of whether there's a tenant in place. So it's a new profession to some degree for that landowner, but it's one that we certainly have seen successful, right, in other examples.
okay. And you said you had, I don't know how many units in this area. Are we talking about standalone individual houses that are?
Great question, thank you. The units on Hilton Head are all are condos, like everything's condoed. In Bluffton, we're looking for some of the townhomes that are available, some of the condos and single-family homes, especially out in that 170 corridor, the Buckwalter corridor, that are still within the $400,000 range. And we'd like to have that diversity of options, and then as you get out into Beaufort, there's even more options on the single-family home side. Yeah, and I should mention, we were able to talk to the Greenville Housing Fund as we put this together. They were 15 years ahead of us. They had a $25 million balance sheet at the time, and they are moving right now from 1,500 to 3,000 units under their management. Now, there's a lot of apartment complexes, a concentric growth area in Greenville, but it's already been done, is my point, in South Carolina, in the state. And our hope was, if a Chimney Cove crisis like came up on Hilton Head, that's what spurred us to action, right? Came up, that we'd have the balance sheet and be bankable to be able to step in and keep that from getting flipped into a new condo development. And the same would apply for the Enclave or somewhere out here in Bluffton. So part of our goal here in this initial phase, as we have 7 units and then 12 more and 12 more, is to build our balance sheet so that we can go to more traditional sources of funding and not always be passing the hat around. But we're looking for a start, and any help you can provide would be appreciated.
So I have a question. With the 12 units, 36, but might cut down to 12 is what you said, correct? So in the unincorporated Beaufort County, 12 might already be occupied. For the 12 that's not, or the 5 or 6 that's not, how do you get that out to the public stating that these are available?
Through traditional means such as social media, I guess you can call it traditional these days. We also have a business list that we've started to keep, so that creditors can communicate out to the businesses saying, hey, we've got a unit at 50% AMI or 80% AMI, and they can have people apply them through our website. And then we have a number of applicants that have applied already. And of course, we can reach back out to them if the unit is prescribed to their median income level.
Please include churches in your business list.
We might do that, as well as outreach for funding as well, or repairs, et cetera. You're exactly right. So the churches are a big opportunity for us that we've not engaged, but we're happy to do that on the outreach. Anything else?
I think this is exciting. It's just exciting to hear the presentation and the work that you've done already.
Thank you. Well, with 6 kids, my wife looked at me 2 years ago and she said, you know, our kids aren't gonna be able to afford to live here. And it was like a punch in the nose to get back to work, Fred. So I'm happy to see it solved personally and for all of us for the same reason, you know?
It was good to see Carlitha is with you too. She's excellent.
She's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'll just give you guys a quick update on, we were talking about that housing impact analysis, and Mr. Wolf had mentioned the 15% ATAX funding. So from a process standpoint, we actually have that going to our planning commission this month for a public hearing and a recommendation, and then we will bring this in front of town council for a first reading in June, and then, is that right? Yeah, June, and then a second and final reading in July. We anticipate that the annual amount, that 15% is approximately $150,000 of ATAX funding that would then be available for workforce housing. So it's just a quick update, just so you guys know that we are moving forward. We actually just finished our the first draft of the analysis, so we're just fine tuning that right now, and we'll have it in front of the Planning Commission this month. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. We do have one visitor, but she is from Madison at New Riverside, Miss Morgan Yandell. She doesn't want to speak. She just is getting into the meeting so she can keep up to date with her Madison apartments. And as you guys know, we have 12? 10. We have 10 over there for workforce housing. All right. If you guys don't have anything else, that's it for me.
Thank you, Madison, for coming. Appreciate
No,
that.
Morgan.
Morgan for coming for Madison.
Yes. Yes.
And Alan, thank you again, and I want to see you before you leave, okay?
Very good, sir.
Yeah, but this has, been a great meeting, and I thank everyone for your input and your attendance, and meeting is now adjourned.
All right, you guys have.